Welcome to Fire Engineering Training Minutes. My name is Jim Walsh.
And I'm Eric Wheaton.
Today we're going to talk about modifications to the water can. The idea behind making these modifications to the water can is to make the can easier to carry and easier to use. The idea is if we keep the can easy to carry and easy to access on the rig, we're going to use it more often. Remember, we're not advocating not pulling a hose line. The water can is just being used when a hose line is not available.
The first modification we're going to talk about is replacing the pin that comes with your water can. So you can see how easy that just fell out. Probably not ideal for when we're doing a search. You can see where that can come out and accidentally discharge on us during an aggressive search. So we're going to go to our local hardware store and buy a 2.5-inch hitch pin. You notice it has a nice beveled edge here. That's going to lock behind this head assembly real nice and tight. We'll add a piece of paracord. The paracord's there, so when we pull the pin, we don't lose it, and also be a little bit easier to grab with a gloved hand. So we just slide that over this hitch pin. Come opposite the gauge. So we're going to slide it on this side, all right? Being opposite the gauge, it allows this area to be freed up for our hands to grab with a gloved hand, and we're not accidentally grabbing the gauge or anything like that. The next modification we're going to talk about is a door chock. We like to just hang the door chocks onto the gauge here, and the door chock can be used for anything with forcible entry or chalking a door open. All right, usually the search team is going to be the forcible entry team as well. Gives them another chalk to use for forcible entry. Our next modification we're going to talk about is a strap. We really enjoy this commercially made strap. It really gives you the most options when carrying it. So we'll set this up quickly. You're going to take this eye loop and hook it onto this hanging bracket. Attach your shoulder loop here, all right? The next thing, finish the Velcro on the back side. And now the harness is set up, ready for carrying. The last modification that we're going to do is add a piece of Prusik cord tied in about a 14-inch to 16-inch loop. We're going to girth knot that on that top loop of this can harness. Get it on there nice and tight. All right, the reason why we put this Prusik cord on here is to give us more search options. All right, the next thing we'll talk about is if you notice we lined up the gauge with our hanging tab here. That actually gives us a keeper for our nozzle when we're doing our search. The manufacturer designed it that way, so we need to make sure that our gauge is lined up with our hanging tab. One thing when you're moving the shoulder strap around during a search for different configurations and carries, as long as you have this top loop connected to this hanging tab, you should be safe when not losing your can. You can notice here, I'll undo the Velcro on this backside here, and as long as this is connected to that hanging tab, I will not lose this can during a search. No matter how aggressive of a search I'm doing, when the Velcro comes off, if it comes off, we're not going to lose our can.
Okay, so if you don't have a commercially made strap available, there's a lot of homemade options. And actually what ended up happening is in our department when we started first doing this, we just started making some homemade straps and we came up with a couple different ideas. The really neat thing about this is your imagination can take over whichever way you like. The key to using any of these is we start off with the hanging tab here, okay? And what we can do is we can get a screw link from the hardware store, and that's going to give us a point of contact. Now we have a lot of different options, but before we even get into that, we need to make sure that we talk about how we're going to make a secure attachment point on the bottom of the can. What we can do is get a stainless steel band clamp, a 7.5-inch stainless steel band clamp, and we can place that around the water can, and we can place another screw link down here. And what that allows us to do is that gives us a nice good attachment point. Now, much like we talked about earlier, we talked about keeping everything in line with the hanging tab. We want the gauge in line with the hang tab. We're also going to go ahead and put the screw link and the band clamp in line with the hanging tab as well. So once that's done, now this gives us options for a lot of different attachment points. So we can look around the firehouse and see what options we have. First thing we have is we can find ourselves a backboard strap. A simple backboard strap can easily be attached to the top loop here, and the way we can do that is either by running a girth hitch through here and attaching that like such. And then using that screw link that we had down below. And now we've got a nice homemade strap. You'll notice what we actually did when we did this is we put the female connection on top. We put the female connection on top. That way when we make this connection and we go to shoulder carry this can, now we've got an adjustment that's going down. If you did it the other way, when you make the adjustment, you'd be looking silly like that. So one of the benefits of using this is it is adjustable. You can adjust it to anybody, their different size carry preferences. And it's also easily disconnectable. So if you do get hung up, you have some different options there. We can also just go and get an actual stretcher strap. Okay, this one's a little bit stronger, similar. We can take that screw link and attach it there, or we can girth hitch it through the hang tab, whichever way we like. Okay, the nice thing about this is it gives us a nice, easy attach and disattach point. And then it also is adjustable as well. Okay, so we can attach that down below. Another option there. And you can even just take like a commercially made flashlight strap. Same thing, you want to just be cognizant of where the disconnect is and where the adjustment strap is. So there's a lot of different adjustable options you can have out there. Probably one of the least desirable options, but actually it's one that a lot of people start off with, is just a simple piece of webbing. Now this happens to be flat webbing. This is rated at 6,000 pounds end to end. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be hung up with something that doesn't have an easy ability to be disconnected that's rated at 6,000 pounds. But we'll talk about how we could use it if this was a last-ditch effort. Okay, I'd rather have you have some strap on the can and carry the can more often than worry about that. So again, we can take a screw link and go ahead and attach it to the top like such. And all we did was a simple overhand knot or a water knot. And we can again tie the same loop down below. This gives us a nice strap to carry it, but some of the problems with it, or some of the cons rather, are the fact that it's not easy to disconnect and it's not easy to adjust. So there's a lot of different options. The idea behind all of these modifications to the can is we want to make the can more user-friendly. If you have the opportunity to carry it, if it's easier to carry, you're going to carry it more. The more often you carry it, the more often you're going to use it. Now what we actually advocate doing is we actually advocate carrying the water can on any call type that has smoke or fire in the title. Smoke in the structure, absolutely have the water can. Even down to an automatic fire alarm. If you have an automatic fire alarm, you should be carrying your water can with you, because the automatic fire alarm could actually be something, you could actually have smoke or fire in there. One of the things we have often is automatic fire alarms that are caused by air handler issues. And there's constantly a thrown belt or a burned up motor in an air handler. And if we have the water can with us, we can open that up once electricity is disconnected, and we can get a good knock on that fire before it turns into anything. If we have to go all the way back to the rig and then come back, by that time, it might be a handline size fire. So we're never advocating not using handlines, but we should have the water can a lot more often, and simple modifications like we covered today are what's going to help us out with that. I'm Jim Walsh.
And I'm Eric Wheaton.
And thank you so much for watching this episode of Fire Engineering Training Minutes.